College Football 26 is out now, and you may be pondering who you're starting your first Dynasty rebuild or build with. I'm here today to make it easy for you. I've done some homework and compiled a list of some teams from around college football that I think would be the best candidates. But if I missed anyone or you're rebuilding someone different, let me know in the comments. First up, let's get to the low-hanging fruit. There's two new teams headed to the FBS ranks this year, and they're both competing in Conference USA, Delaware and Missouri State. We're going to start by talking about Delaware because if you're watching this video before August 28th, Delaware actually has a really cool promotion going on where if you lead them to a natty on Dynasty and send over some videos, you could get a VIP experience at a game this fall. They've got me thinking hard here. I may have to switch up my first Dynasty commitment just to get in on this. The Fightin' Blue Hens have some football history too. They've won 6 national championships in their history, with the most recent coming back in 2003. They made it to the semifinals in 2020 as well, and of course are home to famous football alum like Rich Gannon and Joe Flacco. I like their 1-2 punch at running back, and I think Jonathan Silver is going to become a fan favorite among CFB 26 players because I liked what I saw when I used him. Delaware is a 1-star prestige, and I think it makes for an interesting challenge given the location and this game switching up the point system to schedule recruiting visits. Not a lot of elite talent up in that area. Hell, I'm not even sure if I could find Delaware on a map myself. Their cohorts joining them in the highest ranks of college football, Missouri State, are next up. They have some sweet black uniforms, but whatever this hand gesture this fan is doing is not very intimidating. I don't know, maybe that's just him. I also love the stadium about as much as any of the teams mentioned in this video. They have a cool outline of the state of Missouri at midfield, which for the life of me, I could not get a good shot of on the replay. There we go. Let's just get the screen grab from the game so you know I'm not crazy. Their ratings aren't going to blow you away by any means, but I found a couple different guys I was cooking Charlotte with early. The Niners suck too. They're a good candidate, but I mentioned them in this same video last year, so that's why I left them off. I thought the QB Jacob Clark made some good plays for me, even though EA did him dirty like many others. Come on, this isn't even close, guys. Next up is probably my main choice to answer this question and is 1,000% a team I will be rebuilding on this game because, boy, do they need our help. Kent State has been pooped the last 2 seasons, going 0-12 in 2024 and 1-11 in 2023. They've also been historically awful as they've only won 10 or more games once in program history when they won 11 back in 2012. They've only been to 4 bowl games in their 63-season history and have a 1-3 record in those games. They're one of 256 teams in Ohio, it seems, that are in the MAC, so recruiting could be fun if you pick Kent State, competing against all those in-state teams and Ohio State and Cincinnati. I like some of their jersey combinations, too. I don't really understand why they have a powder blue combination, but I'm not mad about it. They definitely have some of the better jerseys in the Group of 5 ranks, in my opinion. Their stadium isn't anything special, and I've always kind of wondered why the Hall of Fame Plaza is a ghost town. Looks like that would be a great place to sell some beers or something, maybe a smoking area. I ended up playing with Rule Tomlinson as QB, but there are a couple decent options that are freshman quarterbacks here to choose from and build around. And also move over to Coldus Crawford. The Golden Flashes have Darilus Clark out there making highlight reel catches for me with the hardest name in college football. And yes, he is indeed a real player. Like with any of these teams, you're going to have to really focus on building up the trenches, especially with Kent State, because it appears they just didn't do that at all the last few seasons. No depth at all up front. Guess they spent all their scholarships on these thousands of receivers. Kent State, along with Akron, are the only 0-star programs on College Football 26 at the time of release. Next, we look at a good Power 4 candidate in the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue 1-11 last year, including 0-9 in the Big Ten, and a fat 66-0 L to Indiana to close out the year. Their only win came against FCS Indiana State. The Boilermakers have had more good years historically than Kent State, but have only won 10 or more games once, way back in 1979. They've had some solid years under Jeff Brom of late, but really fell off under Ryan Walters, going a combined 5-19 in the last 2 seasons. You could be the coach to get them back on track in West Lafayette. The Boilermakers have a tandem of pretty solid running backs, although they only have 5 players rated as an 80 or higher. The linebackers also suck, which will be tough for you in the run-heavy Big Ten. It also appears that Purdue Pete has found Jesus or something, at least on this game, because I don't remember him having those bright blue eyes. It used to look like he was spawned directly from hell on the old games as well in real life. Kennesaw State's back on this list. I mentioned them in last year's video, but they had a rough FBS transition going 2-10 last year. They did stun Liberty during the regular season and are in those prime Metro Atlanta recruiting grounds. They also fired their coach for some reason in real life after he had really built them up in the FCS ranks. The Owls have some of my favorite uniforms in the game. That black and yellow just hits different. They have several different combinations that I think look sick, and with all the options, you can come up with your own sharp creations too. I also like their stadium and just the area in general, but I may be a little partial to Kennesaw State. I went on a visit there with a couple prospects several years ago, so the Owls are near and dear to my heart. With Kennesaw State, you have some natural in-state rivals too, Georgia Tech, Georgia State right down the road, Georgia Southern always solid, and of course you got them Georgia Bulldogs. I was messing around when I was recording with them and playing with the sideline angle like a serial killer, so I didn't get the full scope. They only have 8 players above a 75 overall, so this is definitely a fun one. Shout out to our guy Taryn on the channel who rebuilt the Owls in 2025. Hopefully they'll be building a statue of him outside the stadium soon. He deserves it. Next up is Southern Miss, who is somehow a 2-star prestige program. They went 1-11 last season with an 0-8 conference record. Their only win came against Southeast Louisiana. Every single one of their losses was by 10 or more points last year too. Though they've had losing seasons in 4 of their last 5 years, historically they've been a pretty good program. They bounced back from mediocrity before, too. They went 0-12 in 2012 after going 12-2 the year prior. Could you be what the Golden Eagles need to bring them back to glory? They also have some clean uniforms with that black and yellow color scheme. Personally, I would have to switch up their playbook to have success. As the coach there, I cannot cook with that wide formation stuff because it's hard for me to see the whole field and the routes developing, but I could just be old. That was evident on the first play of the game when I threw a pick six. Southern Miss living right up to their suck standards for me. However, they have several playmakers on the team, and I was able to get back into it quick. Corner Josh Moten is one of the best defenders in the conference, and you got to love that 94 overall speed. Then there's several skill position players above an 80 overall. The quarterback, 3 running backs, and a receiver. Now, a lot of these dudes are seniors, but that could bode well for a nice start to your dynasty, and at least you don't have to worry about them transferring. Let's go over to Texas now where we have Rice. Rice has only 6 winning seasons since 2000 and haven't had one since 2014 when they went 8-5. They did go to bowl games in 2022 and 23, but overall they have struggled collectively as a program this millennium. They moved to the American Conference in 2023 and have held their own, going 4-4 and 3-5 in the AAC these last couple years. They're also in Houston, so you've got all the Lone Star State to recruit. And they've got some really sick City Connect jerseys paying tribute to the Houston Oilers. I think these are my favorite individual jerseys of all the teams mentioned in this video. Their playbook is fire too. I'm not a football scheme guru, but the best way I can describe it, it's basically like a flex bone formation, but out of the pistol and the shotgun. So if you like to run the ball, this would be a great pick for you. You'll just have to get some of those good Texas country-fed, corn-fed boys in there on the trenches to have some success. I was probably playing with the wrong quarterback too, looking at the depth chart after the fact, but I was able to cook with the guy they had in the game starting. They have several quarterbacks with speed, so that's definitely something I personally would be hype about, but they have just one player at an 80 or higher, but more than a few above a 75, so this is kind of a sleeper rebuild pick. Keep it in the Lone Star State now. We've got UTEP. The Miners have won more than 8 games in a season only once since 1956. Back when they went 10-3 all the way in 1988. They went 7-6 in 2021, but have sucked since then, going 5-7 in 2022 and 3-9 in back-to-back years. They also had a stretch from 27 to 2019 where they went 0-12, 1-11, and 1-11. UTEP has a sweet stadium. I love those mountains in the backdrop. They also have a pretty cool color scheme, too. Some interesting options at quarterback. Former 5-star Malachi Nelson is the second-string quarterback. Could be a major weapon in your rebuild. Although I was balling out with Locklear at quarterback. So UTEP definitely has a little quarterback controversy on their hands, it seems. They're both rated at a 76 overall. You also have an 85 overall safety, an 84 overall receiver and running back, and an 83 overall receiver. Weapons galore in El Paso. Going up north now to Oklahoma, we've got Tulsa on the list. The Kevin Wilson experience was an absolute disaster for the Golden Hurricane. They went 3-9 last year and 4-8 in his first season. Tulsa closed out the regular season losing 63-16 to a really bad Florida Atlantic team. Tulsa had some years of success in the CUSA, but has largely struggled since moving to the American Conference, with only one season with 10 or more wins, and only 3 of their 11 seasons in the AAC have saw them finish the year with a winning record overall. Tulsa has had some years of success in the CUSA, but has largely struggled since moving to the American Conference, with only one season with 10 or more wins, and only 3 of their 11 seasons in the AAC have saw them finishing the year with a winning record overall. The Golden Hurricane have one of the coolest names in college football, in my opinion, although Golden Tornado seems like it probably would be a more fitting name for Oklahoma, am I right? Tulsa has some decent weapons offensively. I was able to get a red zone interception in the brief stint I played with them. Check them out if you want a fun American Conference rebuild, and I like those throwback jerseys I was rocking too. UMass is our last choice. UMass has never had a better record than 4-8 since they brought their football team back in 2012. They've gone 1-11 since then 5 times. They were 2-10 last year. Both of those wins were against FCS teams. Despite them being totally ass historically, they fought hard in several games, taking Miami of Ohio to overtime, barely falling to Liberty in OT, and fighting hard with UConn, losing 47-42. They even put up 21 on the road at Georgia. Never thought I'd see a college football team named after me, so shout out to the Minutemen. This is another tough rebuild based on the location and recruiting challenges that presents, but we love a good challenge around these parts. I was actually cooking with UMass more than anyone else. Got loose with the big tight end for a long catch and run for a score. Then he also had another play later on that nearly went for a touchdown too. Then also had gotten a strip sack earlier in the game as well. Weirdly, UMass somehow has stockpiled 5 running backs that are 76 overall or better, so wear and tear shouldn't be an issue if you want to pound that rock. And before we sign off, also wanted a little honorable mention, some other good candidates that just have great stadiums. One of my pet peeves when doing a rebuild is winning a natty or two, and then you have to play in your ugly high school-sized stadium. So here's some of the best options based on stadium capacity. A Power 4 team in there with UCLA. Then you got South Florida playing in the Raymond James Stadium, that NFL stadium, and a couple other candidates too. And that's all I've got for this video. If you enjoyed it, please help the channel grow by hitting the like and subscribe button. We will have plenty more content to come, not only about College Football 26, but the NCAA football series in general, as well as other sports video games. And don't forget to let me know who you're rebuilding first in your dynasty this year in the comments.